So this strategy that I've termed Geek++ will work for any business. It's going to allow you to leverage your technical skills and knowledge and pull yourself out of a typical professional mindset for very technical people or technology folks, engineers. It's going to remove the very common random chance from your business or from your new business idea. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the internet and all sorts of metrics and tools that are out there to build a money machine. So the first thing I want to talk about, and the prime focus of this particular video, is about advertising, particularly internet advertising. So the first thing is how to actually structure the ad campaign. And I'm not going to get into this too much. I could write a whole book on this or do probably a multi-day class on this, but the first thing is you want to build your campaign using benefits. Most times, especially in technology, people build campaigns using features and not benefits. In fact, you'll see long specification sheets on what all the features are and comparing feature versus feature. Well, guess what? Nobody cares what the features are. They care how the product benefits them. What can this product do for them? How can it make their life easier? So whenever you're designing your marketing or your advertising for a product, you want to be thinking about how it can benefit the customer. Put yourself in the customer's shoes. Remember that they're not necessarily as technically savvy as you. So you want to look for emotional motivators that can make them want to buy your product. Look for ways that will improve their life, that will help them achieve their dreams, or that will help them address certain fears they have, or resolve certain problems in a very quick and efficient manner. So you need to target these emotional motivators. And you also need to look for very specific keywords. Since we're talking about internet advertising, the first thing I just said applies to any advertising, but when we're looking at internet advertising, keywords are really the most important thing. We need those keywords for people to find us in the first place. If they're using search engines, any sort of content sharing sites, they all use keywords. Everybody is looking for you based on certain keywords. The same thing even with ads, especially pay-per-click ads. They're still all keyword relevant, but not just in the search engines, but in content sites where they use, for example, Google AdSense. All of that is based on keywords. So finding the right keywords is important, especially from a technical perspective, because technical people tend to search in completely different ways than, quote, normal people. So you really need to get yourself in that mindset. Pretend you don't know all the things you know about the product, about the industry, and find the right keywords. You need to use those keywords all throughout your website, throughout your landing pages, and most importantly, throughout your text ads. The search engines like Google will actually highlight your keywords in the text ad, and it also causes people to take notice. They put in red car, and they want to see an ad that says red car in it. That's what they really want to see. Now they'll click on other ads, but they're more likely to click on one that has their keywords in it. And one of the other things for pay-per-click is, if you're doing text ads, is to actually try to get those words into the URL somewhere as well. It's just space that's often left unused. You don't want your URL to be completely unrelated. If you can use that space to draw in a customer, that's great. You don't have very many characters in a Google ad. So the next thing, and this is just paramount in any ad campaign, is to create a solid hook. You need a headline that absolutely hooks their attention. Something like great deals on red car is probably not going to do it, because they know that everybody says they have a great deal on a red car. But if you can advertise some sort of a car that'll change their life, or free red car, or something along that line, then you may be able to get their attention. So you need to think from their perspective, think emotional motivators again, think what's going to really grab them, but always, 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 always be truthful. Now, sometimes you can stretch the truth in certain ways by putting together things that may not seem to go together, and then later backtrack and explain why you put those things together, making sure that it's completely honest the whole way. But you need to be truthful for the most part in anything you say. And again, the only exception is sometimes you'll say things that are in and of themselves completely truthful, and you put them together in a way, though, that they may not quite go together that way. But it works out in your sales letter. Usually you'll explain why that is, so people don't feel bad about it. So now let's talk about the advertising metrics. As technology folks, technical people, engineering type people, typically we're interested in numbers, and a lot of business folks are interested in numbers as well, but sometimes they don't know how to predict those numbers. So that's kind of what I want to focus on. Is we think about technology, computers for example, as very input-output related machines. We put in input, we write a program, and it produces consistent output unless that program is broken. Well, that's the same thing with a machine that we're going to build, except that it produces money as output, and it probably is going to take money as input also. But the amount of money that comes out should be more than what we put in if we do it right. If the amount of money that comes out is totally random, then either we're not testing a large enough group, or we haven't done things right, and we need to do a little more testing and refining until we can get something that is consistent. So I want to talk about what the key advertising metrics are, and we're going to go through each of these one by one. But the first one is impressions, clicks, cost per click, click-through rate, cost per view, cost per 1,000 impressions, and cost per action. And then next we're going to talk about the earnings metrics, which are unique visitors or page views, which is basically click-throughs to a landing page, conversions or sales, earnings per click, earnings per 1,000, and lifetime customer value, plus effective cost per action. Now you may know what some of these are, but I am going to start at the very beginning. I just want you to get an idea of all the ones we're going to go through so you don't get bored as we start out with impressions. So you have an online ad. Every time that ad is displayed to a user, that's counted as one impression. So if you do a search on Google, you'll see a whole bunch of ads on the side that say sponsored links. Those are all impressions. That advertiser has just used one impression. Now they may not be paying for impressions. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And then clicks, which should be obvious, are when somebody actually clicks on your ad. So that's going to be the number of times that someone has clicked through to your page, and it should be equal to the number of page views for your landing page for that campaign. Obviously, you could have multiple places that people can find your ad, hopefully, or find a link to your page, that is. Hopefully they're finding your ad through more organic means, through search engines, through content sharing, social media, through all sorts of other ways, or possibly even offline campaigns. So it's not going to equal the total page views, but it should equal all the page views for that campaign. So if you have tracking links, for example, like an affiliate link or a tracking link that goes back to your landing page that you verify where it came from, then that should equal your click-throughs. And that's one way you can actually check the search engines and stuff. Now, if it's Google and it's wrong, I'm not really sure what you're going to do about it. But if it's a smaller site, you may want to check to make sure that the click-throughs do equal what you say they equal. So now let's talk about cost per click, CPC. This is really probably the biggest buzz you hear on the internet, and it's really starting to trickle down into mainstream business. By that I mean brick and mortar business, is the whole cost per click advertising. Typically in something like Google or Yahoo Search or MSN Live, you set a max cost per click. So this is the maximum amount you're willing to spend to get one click or one visitor to your website. And you're going to bid against other advertisers up to that maximum amount. The beauty of pay-per-click, PPC, is you only pay when somebody clicks, so you know how much you're going to spend. If you decide you're going to spend $1 per click and you have a $10 budget, you know that you're going to either, if you use up that budget, you're going to get 10 clicks for that budget. So you know for a fact, if you know the conversion rate of the page that they're gonna visit, and you know how much money they can make, they're gonna actually pay you for a sale. You can find out what you should be paying per click, but of course that's going to take some time to determine. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. So APC is the average cost per click. This is basically just on average throughout your whole campaign, what did it cost you for someone to click through? And this is typically when you're in a search engine